So before we begin this week's episode, I wanted to thank all of the viewers who provided such kind and caring comments following our last post on the death of our good young horse. It was so kind, so appreciated. Thank you very much. And now for something much more upbeat. We have a young horse, young rider. First ride for the horse, first time putting an initial ride on a horse for the rider. It's always exciting to work with the next generation of horsemen. I believe this young lady is one of them. Hope you enjoy it.
So hello, I'm Herm Gailey. This is my friend Melanie. At long last, she's turned 15. She was 14 for 3 or 4 years, and then she got over that. Special day. Melanie has this 2-year-old filly, and since March, I'd say, Melanie's been here on the farm part of the day, probably 3 or 4 days a week. And she's the first kid in a long time that I haven't managed to discourage, terrify, or run off. She's got staying power. So she's here for a very special day. This will be the first time she started a 2-year-old, and this will be this 2-year-old's first ride. And we've worked together a little bit getting the filly to this point, but this has been Melanie's project. Has had the little horse since she was a long weanling, about 8 or 9 months old. Did everything wrong, and then everything went right. Bought her sight unseen on a still picture off the internet from a distant state, had her shipped in, and I thought, well, maybe I can help to keep this kid out of the emergency room at least. Little horse arrives, and she's cute. She's bred nicely. She's smart little Lena and Freckles Playboy. She's a little bitty thing, but it's not like I'm going to be riding her. Nice mover. What we're going to do now, we put her through the same process that I do with my young horses. We'll probably move her around the round pen to make sure she's loose. And we've got the famous milk jugs on her. And then if all the lights are green, Melanie's feeling good about it, she looks like she's ready, Melanie climbs on. So we're going to take a little break to get her set up to drive around the pen, and then we'll do that, and then hopefully have a first ride. So one thing I always like to check before I get on one, especially when they're green, is are they flexing, are they soft, or are they going to pull through you? So we'll just sort of take her head both ways, and that's nice, that's good. Take her head the other way. Yep, that's good. And what I said to Mel off camera is when she gets on her, it's a balance between control and freedom of motion. I favor letting a horse move around without interfering with him any more than you need to for your own safety and to retain some level of control. But if the horse just wants to move around the pen, I'm not too concerned about where they go or even how fast they go if it's reasonable. Like if they want to walk, walking's good. If they want to trot a bit, trotting's good. After bit, I would say 80% or more of the colts I ride, I lope on the first ride, but some I don't. You gotta feel what's happening underneath you that day. So what I told Melanie was, the first thing she needs to do is pay attention to her horse. Second thing she needs to do is pay attention to herself, how she's feeling, what she's doing. Third, much less important, is if I'm helping her, she can listen to me if she wants to, but she's the captain of the ship. Fourth, there are several folks, family members, so on, pallbearers, whatever, here to help. And watch, she should just forget they're here at all. Now what we're going to do is we're going to step on her. The only cheat that we're going to indulge in is I am going to hold her while you step on. I don't typically do that myself because I think you probably shouldn't need that. But for first ride, for a first time rider, let's just do that. And if I have to ear her down and wrestle her to the ground, I promise I will.
All right.
So just, now you may want to just wiggle the saddle around, make a couple of false starts, you know, to where she's comfortable. And make sure, is your saddle good and secure? So my rule is you don't need your saddle tight enough to go rope bulls, but you darn sure want it tight enough it's not going to wind up under their belly. Yeah, so just sort of get up there. You can bounce up and down a little bit. And when you do get on her, you're going to want your reins in your hands. And what I'd favor is I'll often have that inside rein just checked up a little bit, especially if you're alone. You want to be able to take their head away from them if they would panic. So just gather those reins up, because it's always good to know that if I decide to take a coffee break, you've still got your reins. Yeah, now start to get on, but just project your body over her. There you go. Now step off. And we got your saddle rotating just a little bit, so I actually think it's tight enough. Yeah, I think it's just got that little bit of play in it. So go ahead this time. I don't want to get her pried off too hard to the side. Just swing up on her. There you go.
Geez, you realize how short they are when you're on them.
Okay, everything feel good?
Yep.
All green lights?
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to walk her a couple of steps, because this is the most uncertain time, and this is where having a little help won't hurt you. Just remember, this may be the last time in your life you ever have any help. And there are times when I'll have sort of a pony horse out here to start this process. Now I'm going to turn you loose, and just stay in touch with her and sort of follow her motion and let her take you around the pen. Yep, do as little as possible with your hands. Don't think about guiding her, don't think about stopping her, unless you feel like you need to for safety. What she's learning right now is limited to covering ground and carrying weight. And what I like is she's being cautious. And see, you don't even need to pick up on your reins that much. We're just going to keep her moving along. Forward motion is your best friend, within reason. Don't worry about her coming across the pen or anything. All you got to do is keep on a leg on each side and your mind in the middle. Now I'm going to let her change directions. That seems to be something she's interested in exploring, and she needs to go both ways. But my goal is to make this a boring experience and a boring video and a safe, effective first ride. Now, you feel like she's starting to stride out now?
Yeah.
That's a good thing. One thing, Melanie typically wears spurs, and two things that we wanted to remember today: wear your helmet and remove your spurs. And we got both those things covered. I don't care if she comes in. And I'm just going to provide the motion, because right now she doesn't know what your legs mean. All you are is, you're sort of a crash test dummy up there. Now, this is all well and good, but she's a busy-minded little horse. So if we do this too long, she'll start finding something to think about. So we're going to gently step her up to a trot. If she would blow away, just tip her nose to the left and let her bend down, spiral down to a stop. Don't hold her. See, that was a trot. You're good. I wouldn't post. Sometimes that post can become the first step in being on a launching pad. So I'm not being insistent. I'm keeping her moving, but if she wants to break, that's okay. Because pretty quick, she'll be going the whole way around. That's good. So she's just a little hesitant, and that's okay. But what I didn't want to do is have you having to bang on her with your legs and have her confused. So let's very gently tip her nose just a tiny bit. There you go. Now I'm going to trot her off this way. She's being good, but you can see she's a little tight and irregular compared to the way she just flows along normally. Well, we'll just let her do that if she needs to. That's all right. Get her a little bit on track there. There you go. That looks more like Jazzy. Now, if she wanted to stop on her own, just let her wind on down. You think I'm going to save your life? And she can just stand in there and relax. Let's see if she can get herself licking her chops a little bit. The one thing this filly does, she usually keeps an active mouth, and this whole process she's been clamped down pretty tight. And she's starting to move her lips, and there you can see she's just starting to let down a little bit. Pretty quick she'll probably give a big sigh. I know I am. And all of that's good. I mean, once in a while you have one turn around, sniff your boot and say, holy heck, and, you know, fly apart, but I guess that's how you find out. Now, the last thing you want to do is sit up there like you don't want her to notice you're up there. So just rub her all over, rub her backside, rub her shoulders. You can wiggle your saddle around. Remember we did with Snoopy like you were having a seizure? Just sort of wiggle that saddle around a little bit to where she, and if she goes forward, it's okay. But that takes away any question in her mind that there is somebody up there. Okay, so let's move her off the spot again. I'm just gonna, you don't need to do much of anything. There you go. There you go. There you go. Good. She's sort of carrying you on her own. Because at first I was nagging her, but I don't want her to get used to being nagged. I wanted to keep her moving at first, but now I'm letting her find her own pace. And get a little bit more like herself. And see, by trotting her, we're making her walk better. See how nice she's walking now? If all we done was walk her, we'd have lost that forward. Now we're building forward gradually in the trot and pretty impressively in the walk. That's a nice swinging, head moving walk. Go on, Jazz. There you go. Now I see her lips are moving, that's good. Now just ever so lightly pull on your left rein and see if she'll come to a stop. I'll release right away. So that left rein bound her up just a little. It was one rein at a time. Instead of bending her around, just put that little tension in like that on one rein. Use the fence to keep her from doubling back and you gotta stop. Now some horses will blow through that, then we do something else, but I didn't think she would, and she didn't. Okay, now tip her nose and I'm gonna help her turn. Tip her nose a little. Go on. That was excellent, Mel. You just rode through it. Now pick up lightly on the right rein, only the right rein. Take your time. Take your time. Just gently. It can take her the whole way around to figure it out. I'll release as soon as she quits. Now, there's a whole school of thought that says you always bend your young horse down to a stop, which I absolutely agree with, but I want to have this on them too, to where when you take a hold with one hand or with one rein, if you're not actually asking them for a bend, it'll bring them to a stop. Then when you add the other rein after a bit, they're going to come back from both reins. Personal preference. But it's a little bit more like riding her like a grown-up. And the sooner you start riding them like they're broke, the sooner they get broke. We're not going to do a whole lot more with her. Now let's do something a little higher degree of difficulty. Tip her nose slightly to the left. I'm going to put some motion in it. Watch her come back across. We're going to trot her this way. There. That's improving right there. Take a deep seat. That was a lope. And when I say I lope them on the first ride, that's a lope. If that's all we do, that's good. We'll do that one more time. Got her lead that time. Good. Pick up lightly with your left rein. Relax. Well, by golly, you're getting some turn on her, see? She taught herself that. That's okay. That's good. Now, let's just do a fun experiment. See if you can walk her up a few steps. Then bring her back. You sort of use that right rein to stop her. And if she wants to walk out here, that would actually be good. Now, when she stops moving, we've been teaching her to back up on the ground. Just do exactly what you were doing on the ground. Good, back to back up. That's plenty of backup. Give her a minute, let her sniff you. This is all good. And have a little conniption fit. Rubber backside. Reach back, see if you can reach your tail. Reach up, see if you can reach your ears. There you go. Pick up on her, same deal, just take the slack out and see if she'll back up a step or two. Good, good. That's a backup. Step her up if she will. I just want to see if she'll move for you. Just rattle your legs a little bit until she gets the idea to move forward. There. Good. That's enough too. We couldn't have done that the first minute or the first 5 minutes. So pick up on the reins, see if she'll back a step or two. Good. Now, are we done? Try to quit on a positive note. I think we're there. I'm not going to hold her for you to get off. Shorten that left rein. If she would jump, just keep that bend. She'll take her back end away from you and you'll make a safe landing. Well done. Congratulations, that was a really good first ride.